Hi guys, just a heads up before we start, this is a sponsored video brought to you in conjunction with Video Blocks. It's got nothing to do with the content of the video, but there's a section at the end where you can find out what's going on here. If you want to know why we decided to allow this video to be sponsored and what's happening to the money, then that's in the description below. Thanks. Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and today we are talking survival. The thing is apparently impossible for Bear Grylls to do without drinking a litre of his own piss and eating maggot testicles. And you know what, Bear? That's fine, honestly, but I'm pretty good at surviving too. It's called Airbnb. It takes like 5 minutes, you can still have a nice view, and no one has to drink any piss. How does that sound? Okay, he's still drinking piss, let's just leave him to it. But luckily we're not talking about that anyway, because today we are looking at tanking in World of Warcraft Legion patch 7.2.5. And as you will have noticed by now, 7.2.5 brings with it a whole ton of class balance changes, which could mean the difference between your tank surviving the Tomb of Sargeras and destroying Kil'jaeden on his interdimensional motherfucking disco ship, or not. And I don't care what you say, Bear, that is not survival. You may be alive, Bear, but that isn't any kind of life. Now, even though patch 7.2.5 has now been released, remember that balance tuning never really finishes. So bear in mind that by the time you watch this video, some of the exact numbers featured here may have changed. But I think it's safe to give an analysis of the shape and feeling of these changes now, so join us as we look at the winners and losers from the tanking classes in World of Warcraft Legion patch 7.2.5. Okay, go 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 go. Blood Death Knight is the flat track bully of Legion so far. If you're not a Mythic Raider and do most of your Mythic Plus dungeons via the group finder, then you could be forgiven for thinking that Blood is truly god tier, because let's face it, at low to mid-level content, a decently geared Death Knight tank really doesn't need you there. You're basically just background noise in their solo death opera. And yes, you can try and heal them if it makes you feel better, but honestly, you're about as important right now as the script in a Michael Bay movie. The problem for Death Knights, though, is that it's pretty difficult to outgear current progression content, and the class have found themselves an unpopular choice at the very top level. There are 3 main weaknesses that Blood players were hoping to see addressed in 7.2.5: the low damage that they deal in comparison to other tanks, low mobility, and there being no great ways of smoothing out big spikes of damage without taking the room tap talent. And although Blood have seen less real changes than a new FIFA game, Blizzard have addressed those problems without exactly answering them. The best news is that they've received a flat 15% aura buff in 7.2.5 with an additional increase to Heart Strike, which is of course going to help your healing as well. The new legendary ring for DKs awards you the Foul Bulwark talent, which allows you to spec into that and Rune Tap, which is actually really good. And as for mobility, well, there's nothing, obviously. Remember when I said Blizzard had addressed the problems? Yeah, I meant for everything except mobility, because come on, while you have the ability to pull hordes of enemies to your location, you're never going to get mobility buffs, are you? You're just going to have to live with that. It's not perfect, and Blood players will say that it's not enough, even with a really good T24 piece, but it is undeniably an improvement, and added to their already very obvious strengths, I'm cautiously optimistic that Blood players will be a fair bit happier in Tomb. It's fair to say that the newest tank on the block needed a bit of help in 7.2.5 to try and shake the stigma they have of simply not being viable at the very top level. Less Demon Hunters have killed Mythic Gul'dan than any other tank, and it's harder for Vengeance to get into a Nighthold pug group than it is for Bill Cosby to land a job as a cocktail waiter. So apart from seeing general buffs to talents and abilities across the board, all of which are higher than the 9% aura nerf, the most important change for Vengeance is probably that soul fragments that you generate over 5 will now be automatically consumed, which is going to really boost your self-healing. Another of the more noticeable changes comes to Spirit Bomb, which has been completely reworked again, and it now consumes all your soul fragments and then explodes, causing fire damage to enemies around you, which is a buff to your damage and healing, and also is just thematically really cool as well, as it creates a holy trinity with Soul Cleave and Soul Barrier of abilities that suck in soul fragments and then do something really cool with them. Vengeance is like the Dragon Ball Z of undertuned tank classes. And speaking of Soul Cleave, its cost has been reduced from between 30 and 60 to between 25 and 50 pain. And yes, those odd numbers are fucking annoying, but it's going to help you with maintaining those resources, so don't complain, okay? Know a good thing when you see it. Oh, sorry, I meant, you know what I meant. Another welcome change is to Demonic Infusion, which has seen its cooldown reduced to 90 seconds, so it's going to line up a bit better with Metamorphosis. And attention has finally been paid to Blade Turning, a talent that I've always said Blizzard need to change or get rid of, and they've responded responded by kind of doing both. They've changed it to make it more useless, so let's all forget about blade turning, okay? Is this enough to move Vengeance up from the bottom of the pile? Well, you're never going to complain about universal buffs, and don't forget that for Vengeance, any increase in damage is also an increase in healing too. Okay, so it's unlikely that Mythic Raid guilds are going to be beating a path to your door, begging you to bring your massively OP Demon Hunter tank to the Tomb of Sargeras, but like Blood, I think there can be cause for optimism for Vengeance Demon Hunters. Bears were the undisputed king of the tanks in the last tier, with only Brewmasters coming a distant second. Basically, if you turned up to tank a Mythic Nighthold and didn't come as a Guardian Druid, you were like the kid at school who'd forgotten it was non-uniform day. So for Bears, a win in 725 is Blizzard staying the fuck away from their piss. I mean, their spec going into Tomb. And generally, they're going to be pretty happy. The tiny nerfs that they're getting aren't going to make much of a dent at all, really, and the one proper nerf you have, Mark of Ursel getting removed, would have been a massive blow in the magic damage-obsessed Nighthold, but shouldn't really cause too many problems in the new raid. Bears have even had a new button added. Maul gets a huge damage buff, increased in cost, and a cooldown added, giving it some actual impact, so there might genuinely be room for it now on your rotation bar. Oh, and another new ability added means that every time you play Guardian Druid, you earn free game time too, which is not actually true, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's coming in 7.3. Blizzard seems so desperate for you to play Druids in this expansion. You know, it is just possible that with Guardian Druid essentially staying still in 725, one of the other big hitters might overtake them in the rankings, but Bears are clearly still a top tier choice for any type of PvE group, and that can only mean that they are among the winners in Tomb of Sargeras. Paladins, of course, are almost god mode when it comes to Mythic Plus and artifact skins, and they don't have all that many reasons to be unhappy in raiding terms either. They're middle of the road, but in a good way. They've got a tool for every eventuality, and they've even got stuff to be excited about in 725 as well. First though, the bad news. Argent Defender is getting a cap so that it won't absorb a killing blow of more than 200% of your maximum health, and there are a couple of instances in Nighthold where this might have seen you having to pop an extra cooldown. I know, like you don't have enough cooldowns, right? But all abilities like this for every class are essentially getting disabled in this patch, so it won't affect your standing much. As well as that though, Blinding Light and Repentance are having their damage removed, which is a nerf, but a nerf aimed at solo play and Mythic Plus rather than raiding. And by the way, did I mention that you were God tier in Mythic Plus? No? Well, you are, you're God tier, so get over it. But there is good news too. Your new legendary ring is pretty okay actually, giving you Holy Shield to go with your Blessed Hammer. And yes, it will still be Blessed Hammer because, you know, yeah. And the Protection Paladin T24 piece is reasonably strong too. A 5% damage reduction on anything hit with a Vengeance Shield. You should get 100% uptime on any boss. It's not overpowered like some people are saying, but it is going to be very useful and something you're going to want to get hold of as soon as you can. Overall, nothing world-changing or revolutionary for Protection Paladins in 725. I think it's safe to say most of them are going to be okay with that. In our tank guides at the very beginning of Legion, we rated Brewmaster Monks the most fun tanking spec in Legion, and the last 9 months have proven us completely 100% right. And you know what feels better than being right on YouTube? Nothing. Literally nothing feels better than being right on YouTube, so thanks for that. I mean, I say thanks, but clearly you should be thanking me for being so right, and you're welcome. Brewmasters in Legion have proven every bit as unique and interesting to tank with as we hoped, with the unexpected bonus of being absolutely badass to boot. The second most represented tank spec in Mythic Gul'dan kills in 7.2, which is pretty good for one of the least played classes in the entire game, and one whose whole fantasy is genuinely based around constantly drinking craft beer and getting so drunk that you don't feel the pain when you get hit. One of their main strengths in Nighthold came from their capacity to essentially cheese their stagger mechanics, stacking Iron Skin brews until the duration was high enough to last them to the end of the fight, and then downing Purifying brew at will until the boss was dead. So it's rather unsurprising that Blizzard has told Brewmasters there is no more cheese in 725, as those mechanics, the really interesting mechanics that make Brewmaster so unique and fun, yeah, those mechanics are getting tweaked so that monks are going to rely just a little bit less on stagger for their survivability. So straight up, Brewmaster's baseline armor is getting a massive boost to 25%, up from 15, so you can take a lot more punishment, which you'll need to because Iron Skin brew can now only be extended to 3 times its normal length. And on top of that, the stagger effects that you get from all of your brews is getting nerfed 2. It's still an interesting mechanic, it's still a very strong mechanic, but you're going to be relying on it less and hopefully thinking about it a little bit more. On the plus side though, the only real talent change of note is that Special Delivery now has a 100% chance to proc when you use a brew, so even though it's had its damage nerfed, it's going to be a lot more reliable for dungeons and getting those big pulls together. And both Blackout Strike and Breath of Fire have now been added to your mastery in 7.2.5, so using either will add stacks of Elusive Brawler, making them much more meaningful. Probably the most exciting thing coming for Brewmasters though is their T20 set bonus, which really looks to add something to your gameplay. The 4 set reduces your stagger by 5% every time you consume an orb, which is going to be super powerful and means you can probably afford to cheese Fortifying Brew all over again. Yay, cheese! Cheese forever! Brewmaster Monks are going to remain a strong tank choice in Tomb, and if anything, their unique and interesting playstyle is becoming even more interesting, with even more to think about. That is a win-win for Monks right there, and it should remain happy hour for Brewmasters in 7.2.5. The Protection Warrior playstyle may not be the most fluid or engaging that it's ever been, but they were at least able to come into Legion feeling pretty good about how splendidly powerful they were. Ignore Pain made them pretty much indestructible and a required pick for serious raid teams. Since then though, they've had a double whammy of disappointment. First, Ignore Pain got moved down from the god tier as it scaled worse than a London kettle, and then Blizzard decided it would be a great idea to create a raid that was basically all magic damage and leave warriors with less protection than Ed Sheeran stranded in the Sahara. And it turned out warriors definitely could die. A lot. Well, in 7.2.5, prop warriors are finally getting an improvement to their magic reduction with a buff to mass spell reflection, which is welcome obviously, but kind of the definition of a good change being made far too late. Like diving to the wreck of the Titanic to add a few more lifeboats. A bit more relevant is the buff to Ignore Pain, and if that buff goes any way towards fixing those scaling issues, then it'll more than make up for the nerf to Revenge, which, let's face it, is a bit overpowered. Prop has a solid legendary ring which awards the Vengeance talent, but the thing I like best about the class in 7.2.5 is their tier 20 set bonus, which makes Berserker Rage an important part of your rotation. Okay, fine, it makes Berserker Rage like any part of your rotation. Now this, for me, is the definition of what a tier set bonus should be. Changing an underused ability to become a genuine asset to your toolkit and essentially giving you an extra button to use in your rotation. Now, I don't want to overstate the impact that these small changes will have on prop warriors. It kind of all depends on just how much difference that Ignore Pain change makes. Whatever, it's unlikely to make prop an especially desirable tank in Tomb of Sargeras, but it is a step in the right direction, so colour me hopeful for warriors. And yes, I'm aware that I haven't rated any tank as losers for this patch, because I think that even though the overall meta isn't going to change that much, all of the tanks that needed attention have got it in mostly the right areas, even if not as much as they'd be hoping for. So it's likely that tanks will be a little bit closer in terms of power and usefulness for Tomb. Thank you for joining us today, and an extra special thank you to all of these people whose names are on the side of the screen now. That's video magic right there, who gave their opinions and indeed footage to help us make this video. Cheers, guys. We couldn't have done it without you.
Yeah, and extra special thanks to our patrons, I mean, without whom this channel just would not exist.
And a special thanks this episode to our sponsor. We've done a sponsored video, Evertel.
We did it.
I know, you can hate us, but if you want to know more about why we've done the sponsored video and what we're doing with the money, you can read it in the description below. Video blocks. What do video blocks do, Evertel?
Video blocks basically provide a ton of, like, cool stuff to make videos with.
Yeah, that sounds weird, but we're just going to show you. Evertel was put in charge of making a new trailer for our channel.
Well, I thought we needed a bit of a refresh.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. So we decided to make things a bit more exciting. In the spirit of Video Blocks Creator to Creator initiative, this is what Evertel came up with in Video Blocks.
Brace yourselves.
How long did that video take you, Evertel?
Like, days.
It took her 5 minutes. That's how easy it is to make awesome shit like that. And I think you'd agree, that's probably the best thing we've ever made.
It was so good.
It took you 5 minutes and it was easily better than any video we've ever made on this channel.
Oh, you should have seen the other ones I made.
Maybe one day you will. If you like what you saw, you can click in the link in the description below. You'll get a free 7-day trial of Video Blocks and 40% off all of their stuff as well.
Yeah, you get like 4K footage and After Effects and like things blowing up and really cool footage. I think there's actually one called like Sad Cool Man, which is a really, really great.
Hang on, that's what we were going to call this channel.
Sad Cool Man.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget to join us for the new series of the Weekly Reset.
What?
Starting in but days.
Series 2?
Yeah.
Are we ready?
No. Join us from me, Taliesin.
And me, Valtiel.
Cheerio.